Hello everyone and welcome to French Grammar with Taiwo Oluwatoyin. Today we will be learning something very important in the French language, which is French contraction. Contraction en français. Contraction en français. Répétez après moi. Contraction en français. If this is your first time watching my YouTube channel, I would like you to subscribe so you can get notifications when there is a new video upload or update, especially if you want to be confident and speak fluently in French. Let me start by saying this. If you are still saying dolo or dole, this is exactly why your French sounds so unnatural. Most people teach contraction en français, that is French contraction, but they don't explain the logic behind it. In this video, I am going to be showing you how French works and why contraction is necessary. What are French contractions? Let's define it simply. French contraction is defined as when two words come together to form one. When two words come together to form one. Let's look at the reason why this is so. The first reason is because French is a language that doesn't like fiction. And also, French is not just about the word, but about the flow of those words. Lastly, instead of a Frenchman using word differently, they will rather contract it to become one so that they can have smooth words. Now, let's look at the first type, contraction with a accent grave. That is contraction with a. What does this mean in French? Contraction with a means toe or hat. Contraction with a means toe or hat. Okay, so whenever you see the first contraction, which is a with accent grave, it means toe or hat to compound. So now let's look at the rules of this first contraction. First rule is that a avec accent grave, that is a with accent grave, is used with article défini le. I hope you know your definite article in French. If you don't, please check out my previous videos on the French article and then you can learn something on that. So I'm just going to be running through the French articles for the sake of this video. So the French articles are, we have article défini and article indéfini. Article défini, they are le for masculine gender, la for feminine gender, and L apostrophe for a noun starting with a vowel. So all these are for singulier. For pluriel, we have les for article défini. Article indéfini are your on, in, des to compound. So back to the first contraction in French. The first rule says that when we have your he with accent grave plus article défini masculine gender, le. So you have your a plus le gives e. Par exemple, I am going to the market. Je vais à marché. Don't forget, when you have your a with accent grave plus le, our market, the gender is le, masculine gender. A plus le contracts to form o. Je vais à marché to compound. Now let me give you another example so you can do it. I am going to the museum. So what's your answer? Je vais au musée. Je vais au musée. Don't forget your a avec accent grave plus le contracts to form o. Now let's move to rule 2, which says when you have your a avec accent grave plus les contracts to form e. A plus les form e. Par exemple, I speak to the boys. I speak to the boys. Je parle aux garçons. Je parle aux garçons. Now, it's your turn to answer my question. How do you say, I speak to the girls? I speak to the girls. What's your answer? 30 seconds to answer that. Je parle aux filles. Je parle aux filles. Don't forget, you have your a avec accent grave plus lay. That is the plural form of article definite. To comprendre? Now let's move to the third rule. The third rule says a plus la. There is no contraction. A plus la, no contraction. Par exemple, je vais à la pharmacie. I go to the pharmacy. Je vais à la pharmacie. Now it's your turn to answer my question. How do you say I go to the house? I go to the house. 30 seconds to answer that question. Je vais à la maison. Je vais à la maison. Did you get that correct? Voila, if you got that correct. Let's move to the last rule, which is the fourth rule on the first type of contraction, which is A avec grave plus L apostrophe. Whenever you have A plus L apostrophe, there's no contraction. Don't forget, your noun determines the gender. And this will make you know what kind of contraction to use. Par exemple, I'm going to the church. I'm going to the church. Church is a noun starting with a vowel, église. So, je vais à l'église. It's still the same. Je vais à l'église. Now, it's your turn to answer my question. How do you say, I am going to the school? I am going to the school. How do you say that? 30 seconds to answer that question. Did you get that correct? What is your answer? Je vais à l'école. Je vais à l'école. C'est super if you got that correct. Now let's move to the second type of the contraction in French. The second type of the verb contraction is do. Do, spelled D-E-D-E. So let's see what is the meaning of do. En français, it means about, of, or from. About, of, or from. Now, let's take the rules one after the other. The first rule is do plus lo, which is your article definite. Do plus lo, which is your article definite. So when you have do plus lo contracts to form do, just like we have up here. Okay? Par exemple, if you have I am speaking about the boy. I am speaking about the boy. Means je parle du garçon. Je parle du garçon. The second rule for the contraction do is when you have your do plus le. When you have your do plus le contrasts to form de. Do plus le contrasts to form de. Par exemple, if you're talking about the boys, now boys in the plural, not in the singular, boys in the plural. Je parle des garçons. Je parle des garçons. To comprendre? Now it's your time to answer my question. How do you say I am talking about the men? Men. 30 seconds to answer the question. Did you get that correct? Je parle des hommes. Je parle des hommes. If you got that correct, voila, excellent. Now let's move to the third rule in this category, which is do plus la. Do plus la. Do plus la, there is no contraction. For do plus la, no contraction. The verb is the way it is. And the fourth rule on do is do plus L apostrophe, no contraction. Now, this is the part that most people or most teachers will not talk about when they're teaching you contractions. Contractions are not just rules. Contractions help your pronunciation. So instead of pronouncing separate words like do, le, French contraction helps you to merge those words together to form one, and then you have a smooth word. Your contractions are solution to pronunciation problem. French wants smooth speech, free flow, natural rhythm. So whenever two words forms difficulty, French combine those words together to have a smooth speech and a smooth rhythm. And always remember, don't say do lo. Whenever you see do lo, what you use is do. Whenever you see do, lay, what you use is they. And whenever you see a plus lo, what you use is e. And also when you see a plus lay, what you use is e, spelled A-U-X, A-U-S. So these are the French contractions. I hope you've learned a lot from this video. If you do, please do in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and follow for more. See you in my next video. Au revoir. Bisous, bisous.